Hi, we're going to be talking about how to set up consolidating companies in Business Central. The setup is pretty easy. And so to do this demo, I created two companies, Kronos US and Kronos USA Inc. Both of them have sample companies. Now let's talk about how to set up the actual company that you want to roll up into the consolidated company. So both of these are kind of set up the same way. So let's go in. There's some basic setup, very basic setup in the companies you wish to consolidate, and there's some very basic setup in the consolidating company. So essentially, the setup in one of your source companies would be at the chart of accounts level. So at the chart of accounts for posting accounts, you want to be in the account, and then down under consolidation, in your consolidating company, what is the chart of account number that you're consolidating up to for debits and for credits. Now I made the same one. You can get as creative or advanced in your setup as you need to. In my setup, my GL account in my source company is the same as my GL account in the consolidating company because it is all sample company stuff. They do not have to be the same. And if this GL account for development expenditure was $20,000 here, then this could still be 11100. Now the consolidated translation method has more to do with setting up your exchange rate translations, and if you need to find out exactly what each of them do, go to this Learn More page here, and it'll specifically lay out what you should be using for the results you need. You've got average rate, the closing rate, a historical rate, a composite, or an equity rate. Now that is all the setup. To get this done for every posting account, I kind of cheated and set up a configuration package. In the configuration package, you're just looking at your chart of accounts, table 15, but you definitely in the fields need to be sure you're pulling in your consolidated fields, consolidated translation method, which account to debit and which account to credit. That has to happen, this setup of the chart of accounts has to happen in all of the companies that you want to roll up to the consolidating company. So in this case, I did them both for Kronos US and Kronos USA. Now in the consolidating company, the setup is at the business units level. So use your lookup and type in business units. When you get to business units, the setup is pretty easy. Now, if you want help with this setup, you can go up to Assisted Setup here and follow the prompts in Process Consolidations. You would click here and then follow the prompts. Now, you can see mine ran already. I wanted to see what it did. It essentially just steps you through the areas on this page. So there's not much set up here, so on this page you could legitimately just set them up yourself. The code Kronos US needs to mean something because when you look in the consolidating company, when you look at the general ledger entries, there is a business unit there that is going to show you the code from this. So if it's meaningful to you, it's a little easier to read the data. So the name, the currency code. In my demo, I did not set up different currencies. But if the currency of that company is different, is Canadian, Euro, Mexican peso, whatever it needs to be, you want to put that there and then define the exchange rate you want to use it. Do you want to use your consolidating company's exchange rate or your business unit, Kronos USA's exchange rate? I'm turning on the consolidation. If I turn it off, this company won't be consolidated any longer. The consolidated percentage is your ownership percentage in this company. So let's say in one of the source companies, I own it at 50% and my GL net change might have been $100. If I set this to 50%, when I run the consolidation, $50 will come into this company for that account in the consolidating company. So you can adjust your ownership percentage. The start and end date Let's say you've owned this company for a while, or this company's been part of your BC for a while, but you really didn't roll it into your other companies until a certain date. You can code in that date. If you want to stop consolidating this company at any given point in time, you would put in the end date, turn off consolidation. The data source that this is coming from, local currency, or you could add additional reporting currency. And it's always going to tell you the last date this was run. Now, because I'm not setting up different currencies, I did not have to code in which of my GL accounts to record exchange gains and losses, equity gains and losses, or anything like that. However, in this, you will want to, so you will want to pick out which of your GL accounts in your consolidation company that you want the gains and losses to hit. Other than that, the real magic is down here. The data import could be a database or it could be an API pull. API pull is what you're going to use if you have a company that's yours, but it exists in a different BC environment. So you could use the API method to pull that in. So not all companies you want to consolidate have to be in your BC environment. And then you want to choose whichever company you're moving it into. Or you're moving it in from. So this is where the real magic happens. Exchange rates can be gotten from here. Other functions are to test this database or run the consolidation. I suggest you test the database first. Why is that? When you do, it's going to run through your setup in both your source company and your consolidating company. And it's going to basically tell you everything that you mapped, what and to. And then down at the bottom, if there are errors, it'll tell you the errors that would stop it from consolidating. One such error might be that in my source company, I coded in one of the accounts to hit an account here, but that in the consolidating company, but that account doesn't exist in the consolidating company. So you want to fix all of those errors before you start consolidating for real. Now, both of these are set up the way they should be, identically to each other, neither one of them on a different currency or anything. And then it's to run consolidation. Now, if I go to consolidate, I want to code in the period of time that I want to consolidate it for. And this might get a little frustrating when you're first getting onto BC because it will not consolidate any more than 500 days at a time. So I typically just do a year. But you could possibly do it a year and a half at a time. That's going to be up to you. So next, and then I do this, though I do not think you have to. I choose the companies I want, but this is already marking if I want it consolidated and which method to import it. I hit finish and it's going to confirm a couple of times if I want to do it, and then if I want to run the consolidation. And then it's going to tell me if it was successful and that I could run the consolidated trial balance, which I will do in a moment. But I'm going to go to my general ledger entries. If you're not familiar with this list, it is one of your best reports in BC. So under general ledger entries, I can now see my business unit, the fact it was consolidated, the accounts would come through with how much it was consolidating, at what percentage it was consolidating, and then the entry. You can clearly see that both Kronos US and Kronos USA are in here. I could shoot this out to Excel and pivot on it to get reports I want. I could use this window for an API call into Power BI, anything I needed. But let's just look at the out-of-the-box consolidated trial balances. I'm just type in consol for consolidated, and under reports and analysis, I like this one. I'm going to put in the period of time to consolidate. We're going to use 24. And then in your report, you can show the balance at the date, a net change. You can round it to whole thousands or not. And you could use additional reporting currencies or not. And then you could limit it to a specific code, regular filtering that's available. And print. And this is what it looks like when it is printed. As you can see here, it's given me the company, the individual company, and what was consolidated for what account out of that company. Had I made any eliminations entries, it's going to give my total, my eliminations, and then the total including eliminations. This is a pretty decent report. All right, now one thing you might have seen on that report was dimensions, which I also did not talk about. In your source companies like Kronos US, if you go to your dimensions, and as part of my demo, I did not set up these dimensions to translate, but it's pretty easy. You go to dimension values for the dimension, and you'll have to pull this field in, consolidation code, and in the consolidating company, what dimension is large. Now, it happens to be the same, but it could be different. And then you can set up your dimensions in Kronos US to actually bring stuff over. On top of that, there's just not a lot of activity with dimensions on it in some of my sample companies. But that is how to set up and use consolidations in Business Central. Thank you.